Today is Friday, January 15, 2021, the 92nd birthday of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King. You're coming up next on Roland Filtered. The feds say rioters to capture and assassinate lawmakers include Vice President Pence. An explosive story from the Washington Post. The attorney QAnon shaman is on Trump for a pardon. The woman whose daughter outed her on social media for being at the Trump rally, who got punched by a black woman and fired from her job for participating in the riot. And that black woman, she's been fired as a security guard. Republican Oklahoma Senator James Lankford is apologizing to Tulsans for questioning presidential results. And actor Nate Parker is here about his new film, American Skin. It is time to bring the funk on Roland Martin Unfiltered. Let's go. Folks, authorities say rioters capture and assassinate lawmakers, including Vice President Mike Pence, when they stormed the Capitol on Wednesday, January 6. At least 21 rioters in the U.S. Capitol were reportedly current or former members of the military. Them were highly trained. Now, prosecutors are saying there's strong evidence that the insurrectionists included cops and military members who stormed the Capitol. And again, talk about how dangerous this is. The FBI has been investigating to see which rioters plotted to kidnap members of Congress, them hostage. They're focusing on the men seen carrying zip tie handcuffs and pepper spray. I want to go to my panel right now on this very issue, talk about a serious issue that we're dealing with and is shedding light on exactly what took place at the U.S. Capitol. Joining us right now is Michael Imhotep. He is the host of the African History Network show. Also, we have Rob Richardson. He's the host of Disruption Now podcast, as well as Kelly Bethel, communication strategist. I will start with you, Rob. Again, more details. Republicans have been desperate to say, oh, this is only a few people. This is only a handful of people. It got out of hand. But according to Capitol Hill police officers, people were having two-way radios. They said this was very well planned. We cannot act as if this was just a few bad apples, Rob. No. These were individuals taking orders from Donald Trump, from Rudy Giuliani, from Donald Trump Jr., from members of Congress. They want to do harm. This is truly a national security issue.
Absolutely is. And I'm happy that the FBI now recognizes that, though this has been clear, they've been planning this in plain sight. It's been on, if you look on social media, they had a long trail of what they were going to do. They said what they were going to do, and then they actually did it. And they didn't take the threat seriously. We know why, because if it's white men that are Trump supporters, they can't be a threat to national security. They absolutely can. They are the threat, as you said right now. And I really want to make the point here that these are folks that really planned this out. We know that they tore out panic buttons from Congress members that couldn't use that. So had they been successful, they would have been able to do this. And they were very, very close to being successful in pulling this thing off. And we really have to take a look and make sure that we get our security together. And the security has to remove its bias and clearly go after this. This wasn't a one-off. This is a coordinated terrorist attack. These weren't protesters. These weren't rioters. They are domestic terrorists, and we have to take them seriously, Roland, and we need the FBI to make sure they are doing this. And I will say this, and you know, as a point of law, anybody else that was associated with this, how it normally was, people died. I believe it's at least 5 people that have died right now. There's this little part of the criminal law called murder. And when you commit an act that's illegal and someone dies in it, you can be charged with murder even though they didn't commission the murder. That is the rule. There's a lot of people, I believe, that are also responsible for murder, even if they didn't beat those officers or actually were the ones that had hands on them.
I think here, Kelly, that we have to understand that Washington Post is reporting that Mike Pence, the rioters were 1 minute away from a place when he whisked away in the U.S. Capitol. That's how close they were to getting to Vice President Mike Pence.
Absolutely. And the fact that a Black Capitol police officer was the one who literally diverted the attention of the mob away from that entrance, just shows you just how dedicated these officers are, regardless of race and politics. They had a job to do, and they did it to the best of their ability, given the fact that they had virtually no help for hours but for themselves. So I commend the Capitol police officers for really being heroes in this regard. But the fact that it is interesting to me how these rioters turned against Mike Pence, who is supposed to be Trump's right-hand man. So it just goes to show just how much of a loyalist they are to Trump, specifically, not the Republican Party, not conservatism, not anything else, but whatever this particular man says. And the fact it is a cult at this point. It is a very much a cult mentality, a herd mentality, all geared towards one person, because it shows that they weren't. You don't even know what political party they were, because they were against everybody who was against Trump.
But here's the deal, Michael. It's very simple. What these people were doing, Donald Trump had turned against Vice President Mike Pence. They were angry that Mike Pence would not break the law and reject the electors. They were targeting him as well. I mean, there's no doubt what was going on here, and no Republican can defend what took place. Every single one of them should be held accountable.
Absolutely. And not only should they be held accountable, some of them are absolutely complicit. Some of them are actually, it appears, some may be actually complicit in the planning of it. But this goes to something even deeper. This goes to what is really being called a radicalization of a lot of these Trump supporters. It's something that we would hear in association with people who are members of ISIS, a radicalization. And also, this goes to understanding how ignorant many people are of the U.S. Constitution and of law. Mike Pence did not have the authority to throw out electoral college votes from swing states. OK, if he had that authority, then Joe Biden would have done that in January 2017. He would have thrown out the electoral college votes from Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania, so Hillary Clinton could become president. And she got 3 million more popular votes than Donald Trump did. So when you look, and also when you look at the article from Politico dealing with the QAnon shaman, and you listen to some of these people, there was footage that was shown yesterday on MSNBC where they're on the Capitol Mall there, and they say we were invited here by the president. That's not the president's house. He didn't have the authority to invite you there. So when you look at, I mean, and all we got to do is go back to January of 2020, early 2020, January, February 2020, the State of the Union address that Trump gave, and Trump had to get permission from Nancy Pelosi before he can come into the House of Representatives and give the State of the Union address, because that's not his house. She controls that. So when you go through and listen to these various statements of them, this definitely sounds like a cult, but it also goes to how ignorant many of these people are about law and the Constitution, things like that.
Or they don't care. I mean, they really don't. What I think, though, is that they don't care. They think this is, when they say it's their country, they have this view that they own the country and that these rules don't apply to them. That's for like us. Like I actually saw a lady said they're treating us like they treat Black people and Black Lives Matter. Like, no, you're actually having the law apply to you. And they've been so used to getting away with these things that I think some of them are ignorant. That's probably the case. I think some things, very ignorant. Right. It just doesn't, but they think it doesn't apply to them. They just think these rules don't apply. That's how they
You have different things. You have different things. Go ahead.
No, I'm saying that I think it's a mixture of all of it, but more importantly, I think that they felt like they were truly disenfranchised. They really felt like they were slighted and betrayed by the government. They felt that Trump was supposed to be the president because they have been like Imhotep. Am I saying that correctly? I hope I am. He what he was saying about indoctrination. These people have been indoctrinated. They have been brainwashed into thinking over the course of 4 years that Donald Trump is supposed to be the leader of this nation, not just for the 2016 election and the 4 years thereafter, for as long as he wants to be the president. It is that indoctrination. It is that brainwashing, that cult mentality that these people are using and following and truly believing that prompted them to have that insurrection last Wednesday.
There's no question about that, and they believe the lies that's been told to them. They've been radicalized, but the only thing I would differ slightly in is that Trump is definitely the leader of it. He's definitely perfected the method, but he just got ahead of the train. He got ahead of the train. This right-wing propaganda has been going on for a while, and what he did is he took advantage of a climate at the right time.
He weaponized it. He weaponized it. What he did is he made it mainstream. He invited them into the White House.
That's it.
Here's the people got to remember: Donald Trump hired a bunch of white supremacists.
Yeah. Yep. Gorga, Stephen Miller. Yep. Bannon, Jeff Sessions as his attorney general, his first attorney general. This is who was around him. And see, this is why we had to be very careful. This is why back in 2016, leading up to the election, I was trying to explain to people that the presidency this is not just about one person. There were 4,000 positions he had to fill in his administration. You got to look at the people around him, people who are crafting policies, economic policies. The Department of Justice. This is not about one person. People thought that this was a popularity contest. Oh, I don't like Hillary, so I'm not going to vote. What the hell are you talking about? Elections have consequences.
No, they have a lot of consequences. And you look at what happened. He set the tone. He weaponized it, and a lot of folks, we recognize that. We recognized the rhetoric immediately. We heard the echoes of George Wallace. We knew this was foreseeable. We talked about it on the show. This was not a surprise to anybody on this show. This was all foreseeable. We recognize the energy.
That's only for
that lynched our people.
But Rob, that's only for people who understand history. Because
I agree.
Because see, Trump was this vicious backlash against 2 terms of President Barack Obama. Absolutely. And instead of us doing an assessment of what was accomplished under the 2 terms of President Barack Obama, okay, you had the unemployment rate for African Americans cut in half. You had the lowest number of people in prison in 20 years. The U.S. prison population dropped to its lowest point in 20 years in December 2015. You had a drop in the percentage of African Americans in prison, going from about 40% down to 34%. More African Americans had health care because of the Affordable Health Care Act than any time in history, which extended the life expectancy of African Americans. You had all this, and then instead of building upon that, and then you had August 2016, the initiative from the Obama administration to abolish privatized prisons at the federal level. The Department of Justice said they were not going to renew federal contracts for privatized prisons. What does Trump do? He renews them. Why? Because because Core Civic and Geo Group, 2 of the largest owner-operators of privatized prisons, donated almost $600,000 to his presidential campaign.
I mean, I agree with everything you're saying. I mean, but the issue is, though, I think it's a little deeper than that. There were some real issues that people had reasons to be frustrated with. And then I think there was I think everybody underestimated the threat of Donald Trump that he could even win. And when that happened and he won, it took him off guard and they pushed hard. So thankfully we didn't fall for it this time. But this was predictable. And we've said it. And
I would argue that it's. Well, I would argue that it's a layer even deeper than that, Rob. I don't think it's just about us underestimating the power of Trump. I think we underestimated the power of white supremacy and the fact that these people had felt the threat of it slipping away. They felt their power slipping away by said power being distributed evenly across all races. Because let's keep it a buck. Obama's policies very rarely, if ever, targeted specifically Black Americans.
Exactly.
There has been
nothing, I wanted to say.
On his policy and his legacy, nothing is specifically regarding us.
It's him, though.
And he wasn't really able to.
Right.
He wasn't really able to at the time. So I'm not necessarily like blaming him for that, but the fact that anybody other than white people benefited from a presidency and a president's policies and a president's rhetoric, that was a threat, a direct threat to white supremacy.
Folks, today, hold on a second. Today, Congressman, Speaker Nancy Pelosi announced that retired Lieutenant General Russell Honor will be leading the investigation to what took place on Capitol Hill during the incident. Here's what she had to say.
I have asked retired Lieutenant General Russell Honore to lead an immediate review of security infrastructure, interagency processes, and command and control. The general is a respected leader with experience dealing with crises. As a former Vice Director of Operations, J3, with Joint Chiefs of Staff, his focus was military support to civilian authorities. military support to civilian authorities, and he has experience with the National Capital Region's security. House leadership has worked with General Honore, seen up close and personal his excellent leadership at the time of Katrina. Particularly Mr. Clyburn was the head of our Katrina task force. So he and I and others know full well how fortunate we are that the general has accepted as willing to do this. Members are moving forward with strong oversight from committees, of course, to have after-action review. There is strong interest in the Congress in a 9/11 type commission, an outside commission, to conduct that after-action review. In the meantime, I'm very grateful to General Honore for taking on this responsibility.
I dare say, Michael, that a important selection of General Honore. I think it is perfect as somebody knows sense to get down to the bottom of what till January 6th.
I think it is also, and I think he'll get down to the bottom of it as well. And I think we're going to find the swamp and a basket of deplorables at the bottom also. So I was pleased to hear that today.
Absolutely, that's it's an important pick. It's an important pick, Kelly. And again, Honore, no nonsense. Video here is when he was on this show 5 days ago, letting folks have it. In fact, just go pull the audio up.
And that is starting to happen. They're starting to fire him. But that was implicit. There's people inside chain of command of that Capitol Police that allowed this to happen. I went into the Capitol room as 3-star general, 3 stars on each shoulder in full uniform, and them ass hats took a lighter from me. You understand? They selectively applied the law, and they allowed their buddies in yesterday, and they destroyed a good portion of our house. And people need to go to jail. It need to be a DOJ investigation, none of this bullshit investigation. And we hold people accountable. We need to catch all their phones, who they were with, their rooms they went to in that Capitol. I used to go in, and I never know how you'd find your way in some of these rooms. So they had help inside the force, and you can assume about 30% of that force support the guy in the White House. That's just the demographics. And our system failed yesterday.
I dare say, Kelly, if you're a Capitol Hill police officer, a member of Congress, you do not want to see him walking through the door.
Unless he's saying, thank you for your service. No, you do not. I remember Honore specifically from Hurricane Katrina and the coverage of Hurricane Katrina, because, you know, it's in history books now, but for those of us who were there, that was an entire mess. It was just very unorganized, very disorganized, very chaotic, very heartbreaking. And to have Honore on the scene, taking the lead, figuring out what happened, how to make sure that it doesn't happen again, putting policies in place so that we can move forward from that tragedy. You know, we need that right now. And it's obvious that it's not going to come from the Trump administration. For the Biden administration to get to it is frankly a little too late because they have COVID-19 to worry about. We need something right now, starting this investigation. And I feel like Honore will definitely be the perfect person for the job.
Rob.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited to see somebody that's going to hold these folks accountable. We have to have somebody that's ready, because this is going to be a hard test. And I think he made an important point. He talked about the demographics of some of the police, but the demographics of the police in general. There was an article, I can't remember if it was from Times or wherever, but it talked about a lot of Black officers across the country have been upset about the radicalization of members within their force that are white that have become radicalized in terms of hate instead of where they're going. And we know why in this current climate, but there hasn't been anybody addressing that. And that's going to have to get really, really rude. Really, the climate of the criminal justice, specifically climate of policing, which we know has general problems, but I think has gotten pretty drastically worse in the last few years due to the climate and due to the former leader in our country in a few days.
Folks, Republicans are doing lots of backtracking left and right. One of them is the senator from Oklahoma, James Lang. He was one of the Jim caucus who stood on the floor of the Capitol. He's talking about how, votes being used and how it was unfair. Well, let's just say folks in Tulsa are not particularly happy with Senator Langford. He has had an apology to them, saying that for not recognizing involvement in questioning presidential election results in them. Those have called for his removal or resignation from the 1921 Race Centennial Committee. Now, let us to, quote, my friends in North Tulsa. Langford wrote this. My action of asking for more information caused a fire suspicion among many of my friends, particularly in black communities around the state. Completely blindsided. Found a blind spot. What I did not realize was all of the attention about states like Georgia and Michigan was seen as out on the validity coming out of predominantly black communities like Atlanta, Philadelphia, and Detroit. Decades of fighting for voting rights, friends in Oklahoma saw this as an attack on their right to vote, vote to matter, even a belief that their votes made an election legitimate. I could assure you to give a voice to Oklahoma. Questions was never all to diminish the Black American. As the United States representing almost 4 million Oklahomans committed to hearing from all Oklahomans, answering questions, our challenges to strive towards a more perfect union. And I should have recognized how and what I did could be interpreted by many of you. I regret my blindness, that perception. For that, I am sorry. Blind spot, huh? Really? Blind spot? Okay, we knew exactly what was going on. Now is the state senator from Oklahoma, Kevin. Senator Matthews, how you doing?
I'm doing well, Brother Roland.
You accept this apology from Senator Langford?
Well, it's not my role to accept this apology or not. It was my role to tell him not to do it in the first place. It was my role to tell him it was going to be offensive, that it was an affront to democracy, that black folks, and I even tried to explain to him not just the fact that first I said, to fight a free and fair election was an affront to those of us who won as a Democrat, as a black man, as a person that voted for the Biden-Harris ticket. I also explained to him how it was an affront to black folks that we had a first black woman become vice president, and as the goalposts continue to move, now we're going to ask for credentials over and over and over, and that seemed racist. I told him that in advance of this, and then after the incident, of course, he didn't follow through with his initial plan, but that was my role as a black man, as a senator, as a person that had a great relationship with this guy. And so, Roland, the last time I was on your show, I was a guest of his in Washington, D.C. at the National African American Museum of History and Culture around this issue, around what we were trying to do then. And so now it's my role to let him hear everything that our members on our commission feel about it, how they feel about it. Let him hear what our steering committee and our members have had to say. And then we'll see what happens moving forward. The irony or the situation I'm in is that this state didn't newly find out that this was the reddest state in the United States. This is the only state in the United States that not one county voted for our first black president, Obama. Not one county did this ticket win.
But here's the deal with me. Langford stands up there. How do you not know the man's targeting black people? And then Oklahomans have questions. No! The man lied to these fools, and they went along with the damn lie. Senator Langford went along with the lie.
That is very obvious. I agree. The question that we have before us now, which is interesting, because immediately after our conversation, I put up my statement about the affront, how I felt and all of that. And then we saw what actually happened. The big deal, Roland, is when I started this commission, I was the only black man in the state Senate. Now there's two of us, and one is not coming because of COVID. And so I'm back to being the only black man coming to the Senate, but George Young is a great member of our Senate as well. The issue that I have is when I started this work to be able to get funding from the state and to be able to raise now near $30 million, not me personally, but our capital campaign team, for this effort. I had to choose the only people I had to choose is all of the elected officials that we have. And so the commission was formed to address the fact that we needed to have this issue, the story told in a transparent way. Quite frankly, the only way that it happened here was not because everybody wanted to honor the massacre. It was because of financial reasons that tourism is the third largest revenue driver. So with that, the issue is on this commission, this is the problem that we have. If we have the purity test of all of the Trumpers and the people that support that off, then it's just all the Republicans that we have on the commission. And it leaves just us. And so I represent the people, and the people are upset, and they're the ones asking him. And so if this commission asks him to leave, then he's going to have to leave. If he resigns, then he resigns. And so that's where we are. We're going to see if the latter and all the conversations make a difference or not.
So, for you, Langford stays or goes from committee?
As I just said, that's going to happen over this next week.
Okay.
We have had our steering committee meet with him and talk to him. We've had our commission members meet with him and talk to him. They've gotten this letter, and we'll be meeting, I think, on the 23rd, and a decision will be made.
All right, then. Senator Matthews, we appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
All right. Thank you.
All right. This to me is the reckoning that these white folks need to understand. White folks like Langford need to understand the reckoning. And when you stand out there and you defend the white supremacy of the Republican Party, there's going to be pushback. Black folks in this moment should let people understand we are not going to be quiet. And if you want to do this here, and guess what? We're still constituents. We're going to bring rain on your ass when you do it.
And we absolutely should, because as I said earlier, we recognize this rhetoric. We recognized George Wallace when we saw him, and we knew what this could lead to. We knew what this would lead to for us and America. And so these people got so lost in Donald Trump and following him and thinking that they were going to stay in power. They're willing to follow whatever he said. And now they're figuring out, how can we get those supporters? This is what this game is now. How can these supporters, that's the first part of the game. The second part of the game is how do they figure out, how do they prevent us from voting at those levels? And we're seeing that play out in Georgia. They're talking about, well, let's just get rid of absentee ballot voting. So that's the new thing now. I want to just, because so many black people voted, let's just get rid of absentee, no fault balloting for everybody. That way we never go through this again. So we have to push back hard, because they're not going to, look, power concedes nothing without demand. As Frederick Douglass says, never has, never will. We got to keep pushing. And we are not going back to accepting Donald Trump. We're not going back to George Wallace. We're going to fight. This is our country, too, despite what people believe. We are a part of this country. We're not going back. We're not going anywhere.
I say keep the pressure on them, Kelly. Every single person, every single one of these Republicans, they should be met by folks wherever they go. And I don't care. If you're black in Missouri, y'all should be whooping Josh Hawley's ass, showing up at his office, putting pressure on him, because let him know you don't just represent white folks in Missouri. You represent everybody. That includes East Louis, that includes St. Louis, that includes all the communities, Kansas City as well. And so They need to feel the wrath of black people for them supporting these white domestic terrorists.
I mean, that's a given. That is an absolute given.
Oh, it's not a given for some people. Not given for some people.
It is not, but, what can you say, right? But for those who have common sense, this is a given. I think that what happened with this particular senator is that instead of him being genuine with his apology, he was genuinely scared that he was not going to get his seat come next election, because he is up for re-election. I believe this coming election cycle, he's up for election, and having this kind of tarnish on his record, it puts his entire career from a Senate standpoint, it puts it in jeopardy. So I saw this more as a crisis management letter as opposed to a genuine letter to Black people. Because at the end of the day, apologies do not absolve white supremacists and insurrectionists of the guilt and the actions that perpetuated what happened on Wednesday, that perpetuated what happened in the past 4 or 5 years with this president. You cannot have a Trump without people like this senator. You cannot have a Trump without the support that Trump had in order to have this insurrection on January 6th, in order to have this MAGA movement for the past 4 years. If it were just Trump, meh. You know what I'm saying? Like, he would have had some influence, but you need a foundation in order to stand that high. And he was part of that foundation. So this was definitely more of a crisis management issue than anything else. But more importantly, it'll be 100 years since the riots. And I believe it was around Memorial Day weekend of 1921. It'll be 100 years in May. And the fact that this man is on the committee to plan such a celebration, to plan such an initiative in that state, in that city, and then to have this on his record, the cognitive dissonance is right there. I say that a lot on your show, but it really, really is. And people like that don't need to be in office. People like that don't need to have authority because it creates chaos, such as what we saw last week.
Michael.
You know, I read the entire letter. I read the article actually yesterday from the Tulsa World. And I'm sitting here and I'm like, either he's stupid or he thinks we're stupid. And the reason why I say that is because in the article, it says he arguably has been more involved with Black Tulsans and particularly the historic Greenwood district than any statewide Republican office holder in decades. Okay, well, if you are so involved, how is it that you don't understand that you are participating in disenfranchising African-American voters? Okay, this is on top of Trump having the challenges in the courts, challenging Georgia elections in Pennsylvania and trying to challenge Michigan and things like this, okay? And then the other thing is this ties into Georgia and the 2 Senate races in Georgia, okay? 1963, the state law that was put in place that was initiated by State Representative Denmark Groover. He was a segregationist. This was designed. This is what put in place statewide runoff races. Okay, it was designed specifically to keep African Americans from having statewide power, winning Senate races and things like that in the state of Georgia. So what took place with Reverend Warnock and him winning that Senate race, that was not supposed to happen. So you got. And what he's trying to do, what Langford is trying to do, and what Josh Hawley trying to do, they want to run for president in 2024. And they're trying to latch on to that. They're trying to latch on to that Trump coalition, but they want to be smoother with it. See, what we really got to watch for is somebody that is like Trump, but is smoother and better packaged and more intelligent. That's what we really got.
Well, that's why I'm so afraid of Pence. That's exactly why I'm so afraid of Pence, because him and Pence. I mean, there's a reason why they were on the ticket together. They are alike in ideology. And I used to joke with my friends that Pence looks like an evil Colonel Sanders and then Trump just looks crazy. So, like, with Pence, especially when in the debates and his interviews over the past few years, he's very smooth. He's very pointed. And frankly, he's very conniving.
But the difference, the point, first of all, I'm not scared of any of them. All right. Okay. I'm going to call out white supremacy. I'm going to call out white supremacy. The real issue here is that what they are trying to do is they are trying to stoke the flames. And they, like I keep saying, they want to play footsie with white supremacists. They want to sit here and they want to keep it. But see, in their minds, we keep y'all at bay, we could tamp y'all down. What they have now done by attacking the Capitol, they've now said, no, even y'all can't control us. And so now the DOJ got to put y'all down. See, these folks have to be put down like a wounded horse. See, here's the deal. You don't play games with thugs. You don't play games with insurrectionists.
No.
This is not somebody, look, if y'all want to roll to a Capitol and the law allows for you to wear y'all military gear and you can carry a gun, that's fine. But when you start trying to break into the Capitol, when the doors are barricaded, look, hey, people are saying, I feel sorry for the woman who got shot and killed. Not me.
Why?
Not me. Doors were barricaded. They were trying to knock the doors down to get to the speaker's lobby, and she tried to
climbing over people.
That's my point. My point is, your ass. Wait a minute. In the video, they said, "Hey, they got guns." And let me tell you, if I'm on this side of the table, and there are guns on that side of the table, my ass ain't about to cross this side of the table unless I got a gun too.
Yeah, but you're not going to see black people crossing that. You know, that was something that they thought they can get away with because they always have. I'm going to say this, too. They've been able to, though that hasn't happened at the Capitol. We had insurrections happen plenty of times before. And they were also, of course, going through state capitals with guns and everything else. So you had the energy being built up. But this is traditional. When I heard people say, this is not America, that's not what America does, that's wrong. Like, America has a whole lot of history of violence when it comes to politics, specifically when it comes to black people. You can look at the Wilmington, North Carolina matter as one example of many, where they burned down the black newspaper, the Daily Record, and then they went after most of the legislators who were black, killed their families. That happened across the South, happened a lot of places. We in America, we know, but most Americans don't actually know their history. They're like surprised by this. This is not a surprise given that we've created, given the leader and the rhetoric that we've had coming up. This is what we've been warning about. And now the wing has made a deal with the devil. They play with fire and they can't control it.
Yeah, that's it. And so my deal is you take them out. And this is why we don't play games. This is why every single person, I'm telling you right now, Ron Johnson, Wisconsin, Black to Milwaukee, let's take his ass out in 2022. If you in Florida, let's take Rubio's ass out in 2022. Let's take that seat in North Carolina in 2022. Let's take Toomey's seat in Pennsylvania in 2022. Yep. This is where you exert power. You exert power. Now, first of all, Toomey has been highly critical, and he's been on the right side on this, but he's still a voter suppressionist. Okay? But the bottom line is this here. This is where you take them out. This is where we exert more power. They pissed about Ossoff and Warnock. Hey, let's elect 10 more Ossoff and Warnocks. Let's drive their ass crazy. So while they yelling and screaming, we're mobilizing and organizing. That's what our job should be. Got to break, we come back. Remember the white woman got punked by the sister? Trying to grab sister's phone? Her ass need a new job today. I'll explain next on Roland Martin Unfiltered.
I'm in the world of fiction. That's what I do. I'm an actress. I spent 35 years in this business. I've been in the business since I was 14. I was discovered in a basement theater in Philadelphia, a basement called Freedom Theater. And that's what I do. I play for a living. And I look and see that we're in a world that, it's bizarre, where you can't tell the fake from the real. These people are not faking it. That's what they're going to, they're willing to put their whole lives, their families' lives, everything they've accomplished around looking pathetic and weak around a table because this man showed up and told them that, that he was the one and everybody should follow him. He didn't even have a good argument. He's not Martin Luther King. He has no words, he has nothing. He's just rich and white and male. And so people want to see that power on display and then tell us that we're not, that we're crazy. They can't do it anymore. That's the good news.
Rick Scott here. I have just now taken over as chairman of the National Republican Senatorial Committee. I now have to figure out how to raise roughly $1 gazillion in order to retake the U.S. Senate and stop the march of socialism and the destruction of the American dream. There are two
Hang them up! We can take that place. And then do what? Heads on point! I'll fight next to you! I'll keep going! Get in there! Armo! Get the in there! Let's get him! Every single in there is a traitor.
I have said, the incursion of the U.S. Capitol struck at the very heart of our republic. We're going to walk down to the Capitol because you'll never take back our country with weakness. I unequivocally condemn the violence. If you don't fight like hell, you're not going to have a country anymore. Making America great again has always been about defending the rule of law.
The president, sources say, initially rebuffed bringing in the National Guard.
We were repeatedly being told by the National Guard at the national level that we did not have authorization.
Supporting the men and women of law enforcement.
The Capitol police officer died of injuries from the attack.
A second U.S. Capitol police officer who responded to the Capitol riots last week has died.
We have seen too many riots, too many mobs, too many acts of intimidation.
I just want to find 11,780 votes.
Today I am calling on all Americans to overcome the passions of the moment and join together as one American people.
All of us here today do not want to see our election victory stolen by emboldened radical left Democrats, which is what they're doing.
Be the first African American to become the Secretary of Defense, if confirmed, is an enormous honor and a privilege. But you know, it's not the first time that I've been the first. Back when I was a lieutenant colonel, I was selected to be the operations officer for the 82nd Airborne Division. An African American had never held that position before, and later on I would become the first African American to command an infantry division in combat. And subsequent to that, I was the first African American to command an Army Corps in combat. The first African American to be the Vice Chief of the Army, the first African American to be the CENTCOM commander. It's hard to believe, but it's true. There is kind of a sad commentary here, and that is, it shouldn't have taken this long for us to get here. There should have been someone that needed me. And I am enormously grateful for the service and the sacrifices of those that went before me. The Tuskegee Airmen, the Montford Point Marines, the folks who served in World War I and World War II, who performed with distinction. And it's on their shoulders that I stand here today. My goal is to not be the last. Hopefully we can set those conditions in place that ensure that I'm not the last Corps commander to command in combat or the last CENT commander, and certainly not the last African American Secretary of Defense.
Do you have this video here? Press play.
There were no tweets, and there never will be again. Twitter has banned the president for life. Jolene Kent has the latest.
Tonight, a deafening silence.
Please get the right video together. A Massachusetts woman has been fired after her daughter outed her as one of the U.S. Capitol. Teresa Duke lost her job as caregiver at UMass after her 18-year-old daughter, Helene Duke, identified her being punched in the face by a security guard outside the Capitol on January 6th. All right, y'all, cue the video up. You watch the video here. No, cue it up. You can go to the beginning. Cue it back. Cue it back up. Come on, y'all. Thank you. Now play the video. Play the video. Thank you. Smith, the uniformed security guard, punched Duke in the face after Duke tried to take her cell phone. Helene retweeted the viral video and said, "Hi, Mom. Remember the time you told me I shouldn't go to BLM protests?" Bring the audio down, please. Thank you. Bring the audio down, please. Thank you. Remember the time you told me I shouldn't go to them protests because they could get this you? Second video, Duke seen trying to explain that she was punched by the girl. Her daughter then commented, "Mom, I think you meant a powerful black woman you for it." UMass Memorial said in a statement late last week they're no longer employed at the hospital. You know what? Roll it again. I mean, see y'all, the quickness of the punch. She bloodied homegirl's nose. Go ahead, roll the video. Quick! Quick! I think right there, some top boxers will be pleased with the quickness of that jab, Kelly.
I mean, it was definitely quick. I remember seeing this tweet when as it was going viral on Twitter. But what struck out to me the most is the fact that, like, a lot of her peers, a lot of Zennials, meaning, you know, people right after me, their first president was Obama, right? So to see Trump in office as clearly a bigot, they see him for who he is, which is a bigot, which is a xenophobe, which is a racist, as opposed to their parents who still have this warped, nostalgic sense of veneration for him. So the dichotomy of the new generation actually trying to be better than their parents against their actual parents who want to maintain the status quo. That's what I see in this tweet. This upcoming group of youth who are about to be voters very soon have no conception of overt racism because of the work that we did and my parents did and my great-grandparents and my grandparents did. And they don't have an example of that but for their parents. So you're going to see a lot of this conflict. You're going to see a lot of this tension in homes, especially white homes with children who have actual legitimate Black friends, not, you know, Black friends as tokens, just to say that they're not racist, but legitimate people that they grew up with, that they identify with. You have white youth who are part of the LGBT community. I believe this person who tweeted is a lesbian or queer in the queer community. So she got kicked out of her mom's house because of her sexuality. So that adds another layer to the dichotomy of how this generation is purporting to live versus how this previous generation that, you know, are now insurrectionists or labeled as insurrectionists now. You're going to see a lot of that tension now.
All I know is this here.
Aside from the video being funny.
All I know is this here, Michael. I ain't got no problem with these white folks losing their jobs. None of them.
Exactly. There's a lot of them losing their jobs. They'll be turned in by their family members. When the Department of Justice had a press conference earlier this week, they said they've gotten 100,000 digital tips. You had one woman, I talked about this on my show earlier this week. You had one woman who was in the U.S. Capitol building, and she was taking pictures of herself, and she was there with one guy. He was sitting in the vice president's chair or something. I think they were in the Senate. She resigned from her position, and now she's being prosecuted. So I have no problem with them losing their jobs, and the companies they work for don't want to have anything to do with these domestic terrorists. They're being exposed, losing their jobs, being prosecuted. So, you know, but see, once again, I've been talking about this all week. This is white privilege. And some of them have been put on the no-fly list. Representative Benny Thompson, chair of the Homeland Security Committee, he contacted TSA and I think the FBI, and a lot of these people have been put on the no-fly list. So there was one heavy-set white guy who was at the airport. Daily Mail has an article about this. He's at the airport crying, and he said, they won't let me fly. They're calling me a terrorist. They're trying to ruin my life, things like this. I'm like, you actually thought you could be involved in the insurrection to overthrow the government, interrupt a constitutionally mandated process, then just get back on the plane, fly Southwest Airlines, and go back home and live.
Oh, wait a minute, hold up. All them white folks who accosted Senator Mitt Romney at the airport, Delta put all of them on their no-fly list.
Good.
Let me also give y'all this. Ashanti Smith, go to my iPad. She put this, she had a GoFundMe account. She tweeted, my name is Ashanti Smith. I'm a 28-year-old African-American woman in the Washington, D.C. I recently was assaulted and harassed by voters on Black Lives Matter Washington, D.C. 2021. Surface where I was surrounded by Trump extremists in my life. Look like I am, but it does not show my defending my people shoved me, tried to yell racial epithet to remove my. I asked them to stay out of my personal space. They refused. I was afraid of being hurt or being assaulted myself. I'm an artist along with from my employment. which places ship situation at the asking for support, my legal, and to maintain the that I need to survive during this time. Help is truly a thank you in advance, just so y'all understand how folks have come to her aid. She had a goal of $85,000. $199,623 was raised from 7,400 different donors.
That's amazing.
That's great.
That's amazing.
Yep.
That's what social media is supposed to be for, and that can show the power of it. But this other side, these terrorists that walk through. What's interesting, getting back to them, a lot of them are boomers, and they told don't take pictures of everything of yourself and don't get on media. But then they go and commit a crime and then think that people see it and they post it on social media. They post before and after, and think that we won't see this. And what's really kind of interesting and funny, all these people complaining about the First Amendment. To Michael's point, they don't understand how First Amendment works. You don't have a First Amendment right to be on Facebook. Facebook is not the government. They don't have to. So all these people that talk about not private sector not getting away, except for when they want to have something for themselves, and now they want to make sure the government takes over Facebook. I mean, what is it that you want here? Do you want private sector? No, you just want to have the country make the rules up for you, by you, and it applies to everybody else but not you. No, that's not how a constitution works. Most people don't understand the Constitution. They say they love America, but it's about something else. Clearly, as others have said, this is about white supremacy. This is about your identity tied to white supremacy and seeing yourself in a order above black people. No, we're in this country together. We're going to keep fighting. We are not going back, period.
Let me show you this video here. Remember the white woman out of Texas who put out that she bred a private jet out of D.C.? The real estate woman? Yeah, her ass got arrested too. Here's her defending herself. Listen to this.
Take me as a target, but I do not feel that I did anything wrong. In fact, I felt that I did something noble, and I'm proud of being there. I have no shame to be there. I feel very persecuted, and I feel very misjudged. I don't want them to take me as a target, but I do not feel that I did anything wrong. In fact, I felt...
Come back. Come on. Y'all, guess what?
Snowflakes.
I'm feeling judged. I'm feeling persecuted. No, you're not feeling.
Well, you are.
No, you're not feeling persecuted. Your ass is being. No. She's not feeling persecuted. She's being prosecuted.
Prosecuted. That's the word. That's what I was saying. She's being prosecuted. Yeah, because she and everybody like her. Like I saw on Fox News, they were saying, well, these people are confused, and everybody's saying, they don't understand why people lost. And then you could see another clip where they talked about liberals and black people and other folks like, why are they so mad at the president? He won. And then they're saying at the same tone, if you see them talking about the folks that stormed the Capitol, well, these are good Americans. These are good people. So again, we lie to ourselves about how we ourselves in this country. And all of this is because we want to deal with race. And we talked about it on this show, but what I think needs to happen, and I know, Roland, you said this, there needs to be a Truth and Reconciliation Commission about the truth about race in this country. And we need to make sure everybody has it. And we teach history in terms of how it actually happened, and people can learn. So like Germany, like South Africa, we can begin to move past this instead of trying to deny white supremacy in terms of its roots in the country.
These folks are just truly go ahead, y'all.
Yeah, America needs a massive history lesson. I've said this before. Americans are woefully ignorant of history. And when you research the Daughters of the Confederacy and how they funded curriculums in the South, textbooks, things like this, that pushed this whole lost cause lie and this revisionist history about the Civil War. So we're dealing with the aftermath of this, and also people not understanding American government, civics being taken out of school, people being ignorant of the U.S. Constitution. There was a study I saw. There was an article from 2014, and there was a study that came out at the time, and it talked about how almost 2/3 of Americans could not name the 3 branches of government. Okay. Oh my God. Almost 2/3 of Americans. Now we know Senator Tommy Tuberville could not do that.
God, don't.
How did you graduate?
No, hold up. No, forget. Dude, Tommy Tuberville don't even know what the hell the Voting Rights Act is.
I fired him, by the way.
That.
So
I know that.
Let me, at Proud Point, I was chair of the board of the University of Cincinnati, and my year last year, I fired him. I'm so happy he was replaced by a coach. That's why we're number 5 in the nation. He was an idiot. I'm very glad. One of the best decisions I made in firing him. So, all right, I had to say that.
Tommy Tuberville absolutely is, without a doubt, of the dumb, just so y'all understand how dumb this dumbass is. I mean, if you from Alabama and you voted for this fool, you stupid. I mean, you stupid. I don't know how y'all picked this dumbass over Doug Jones. Hold on, wait, hold up, Kelly. I am going to play this video probably once a week, as long as he's in the United States Senate. That means for the next 6 years. This man is stupid. The Voting Rights Act was born out of the black belt in Alabama. Y'all listen to Tommy Tuberville when he had to explain what the Voting Rights Act is. This is not a daily show. This is not a late night show. This is literally Tommy Tuberville in his own words discussing the Voting Rights Act.
The thing about the Voting Rights Act is it's, you know, there's a lot of different things to look at it as, you know, help. You know, what direction do we need to go with it? I think it's important that with everything we do, we keep an eye on it, run by our government, and it's run to the point that it's got structure to it. It's like, I mean, it's got to have, for some reason, we look at things changed to think we're going to make it better. Better do a lot of work on it before we make it.
What the? I got nothing. I don't know.
I'm saying, and he's a senator. See, this is what I'm trying to explain to people. Look, he's going to be one of the people voting on reparations.
Oh, he's going to be one of the people who are voting on the John Lewis Voting Act.
John Lewis Voting Act,
right.
the George Floyd Policing and Justice Act. What I'm trying to explain.
We got to keep an eye on it. We gotta see if the chicken crossed the road and look to the left or to the right. We gotta see if the wool gets put over the head, because we gotta make sure that the cap pulled back far enough. What the hell, y'all? This is one of the 100 United States senators.
The point I'm trying to make, Roland, is that a lot of our people say we want reparations. You don't understand. Reparations has to pass the House of Representatives and the U.S. Senate. You're gonna need 60 votes in the Senate. If a reparations bill somehow comes to the Senate floor, he's gonna be one of the dumbasses voting on it if they don't object to it through unanimous consent.
Yeah, you don't need 60. What they need to do is get rid of the filibuster by majority vote. That's what they do. That's the first thing they need to do.
But you may not even have 51 because you got Joe Manchin from West Virginia. You may, but see what
it don't even hold up. It don't even matter if it's reparations, y'all. It don't even matter if it's that. Bottom line is what you're dealing with on the Republican side. You are dealing with some idiots. One of the people who was one of the leaders of the insurrection was Mo Brooks of Alabama. Okay,
Yep.
Paul Gosar of Arizona. Bibbs of Arizona. These are dumb people. Hell, I swear the second most U.S. senator is Marsha Blackburn of Tennessee.
Yep.
We need to go get the dumbass Louis Gohmert in the House. And then hold up, I got to deal with dumbass Matt Gaetz in Florida. I mean, so on the Republican side, it's a lot of dumbass people.
Yeah.
But even still,
Kelly, go ahead.
Brings me.
Go ahead.
Even still, with all of the stupidity that is a part of the Republican Party as of late, tying this back into the original point of the woman who thinks that she did nothing wrong, ignorance does not absolve you of your actions.
Nope.
Using Trump as a scapegoat does not absolve you of facing the consequences of your actions.
I just love how these grown people, oh my God, they didn't know what they were doing. They were just walking aimlessly. It's like, I don't know, I'm grown. I mean, what? The door is open. Oh, I didn't see them forcibly removing barricades. No, I thought when the guy with the flag was like slamming the cop on his head, he was just trying to get his attention. I mean, that's literally what these people are saying.
But But that's exactly my point. Willful ignorance does not absolve you of the consequences of beating a police officer upside the head with a flagpole. Stupidity does not absolve you of the consequences of assaulting a federal officer. Stupidity does not absolve you from doing the right thing when you're on the Senate floor. So if for people who voted for these people and actually recognize the stupidity, now you are no longer absolved if they do something against your interests because they're stupid. So that's why it all ties together in terms of people just need to be smart about who they vote for. People need to be smart about what they do. People just need to be smart.
No, but no, Kelly, no. They are not trying to be smart. They are voting for these people for a reason. Rob, the reason they're voting for Jim Jordan in Ohio, the reason they're voting for Mo Brooks in Alabama, the reason they're voting for Louis Gohmert in Texas and Matt Gaetz in Florida, they're voting for these people because they are speaking their language. That's why Steve King kept getting reelected in Iowa. He was a flat-out white supremacist, and the white folk in Iowa only rejected him when he went a little too far with his racism. They were like, we're good. We're 90 yards of racism, but you kind of went to the 95th yard, so we got to let you go. Now, had you just gone from 0 to 90 yards with your bigotry, we were good. Because I remember all the stories. Well, he's been an effective congressman. And again, that's the point. That's why all these people, they're mad and pissed off at Don Lemon because Don Lemon said the 74 million out there, you're voting along with the Klan. No, it's unfair. It's unfair to say the Trump people, you shouldn't call all the people racist. Hillary Clark called them deplorables. This is very simple. If y'all can't see the racism and you want to deny the racism and you keep voting for the racist guy, guess what? You're going along with the racist. That's what you're doing. Yeah. Steve Bannon was hired by Trump. You're voting for the racist. Stephen Miller, racist. The guy who was a speechwriter, racist. I mean, we could go on and on and on. You are voting for the racist. Whether I'm not racist, that's not me. Yes, you are voting along with it.
Yeah, I mean, you're totally fine with it. I mean, and they use language to spark them emotionally. This is what they do. And then they paint out anybody that is not with them as evil and never really explain why. And people go along with the propaganda, believing some of it is racism, and they figure out ways to get to the deepest part of the human mind. And they trigger people, and they go along with that, and people follow, and they fall them off the cliff. But here's what they need to understand: people that attack the Capitol, Donald Trump don't have your back. He don't like you. He don't even respect you. He doesn't. This is all. He's doing nothing but trying to keep his power. And the reason why you see he came out with that, basically just dimming those people because he was trying to protect himself. Donald would run over his own mother, his father, his kids to save himself. This is who he is. But people got so lost in that language, they got so lost in racism and white supremacy that they are hurting themselves, which is what racism and white supremacy does. This is bad for America.
But the point, Michael first, that I'm trying to get people to understand. If any of y'all watched that documentary, The Race, on Showtime, they laid out Ronald Reagan was using racially explicit language in talking to white people. Ronald Reagan knew exactly what he was doing. He was using racist language. He was appealing to racist instincts in 19 when he ran for governor of California and when he ran for president. See, here's the thing that and this is one of the reasons why I rarely call somebody racist on television or any other form, because what ends up happening is the conversation then devolves into, I'm not a racist. Yes, you are. I'm not a racist. Yes, you are. As opposed to what you say and do.
Right.
So, Trump's policies, what Trump says, when you retweet supremacists, when you retweet white insurrectionists, you're aligning with them. But what white folks have done with this whole issue of racism, they have defined this issue to, I don't burn a cross.
Yep, that's it.
I don't wear a hood. I don't call you nigger. Mm-hmm. So I'm not a racist. You can't call me a racist. But when you do stuff like those people blacks, we see where their fathers, when it's how many babies do you have, when they use the racial language. That's what the issue here is. And this is why mainstream media, who should also accept their responsibility for Donald Trump, because they, and let me be real clear, Fox News, CNN, MSNBC, ABC, NBC, CBS, Fox Broadcasting, New York Times, Washington Post, Wall Street Journal, USA Today, all of them, they kept covering Donald Trump's birtherism as if it was an actual story. It was, but it's Donald Trump. It doesn't matter. You covered racist who was a racial attack on the first black president of the United States, and y'all covered it up. And then you kept letting go on The Apprentice. And then you keep supporting him. That's the real deal here, Michael. So we have to call out white racism for what it is and let them know just because you ain't wearing a hood don't mean you're not focusing on your whiteness.
What we have here, Roland, is you have a lot of white people in who are lower economic categories. Poor white people.
Not just that.
Nope. Not just that. The data shows different.
I understand not just that, Churchman. I understand that. You got Ivy League, things like that. But what they're trying to do is maintain white supremacy because they feel it's slipping away from them. This is all about the fear of the year 2043. And then they're trying to suppress African-American votes. And they see this slipping away from them. And what Trump did in 2015 and 2016 is he really tapped into that white grievance. And I take people back to the article from May 2017 from The Atlantic that talks about how it was actually the fear of, it was cultural anxiety and the fear of cultural changes in America. Not so much, it wasn't so much the economic issues. It's tied into the fear of browning of America. Economics plays a part of this, but see, the trick that's taking place, the trick that's happening, is the guy that they're putting their hopes and dreams in has made their life even worse these past 4 years because he's mishandled the coronavirus.
No, it doesn't matter. No. Michael, it doesn't matter. Michael, it doesn't matter. See, that's the thing. They don't care about that.
Nope.
What they care about is, are you keeping them blacks in their place?
I understand.
See, it don't. So they ain't got no problem being broke as hell. Bernie Sanders stood on the floor and said 10 of the 25 poorest counties in America are in Kentucky, and them dumbasses reelected Mitch McConnell.
Exactly. So what I'm saying is because they're trying to maintain white supremacy, they're voting against their own interests and it's doing them greater harm. This is what I'm talking about.
Yeah, but they don't. But no.
I don't think
in their minds, Kelly. But Kelly, in their minds, no, they're real clear with it. See, their whole deal. But what they're saying, I want to pull this up, Kelly, and I want you to comment because Greg Sargent rolled out some data a little bit earlier today of a poll. So I'm going to do this here. 51% of New Washington Post poll. 51% say GOP didn't go far enough in nullifying the election. Go to my iPad. 56% say Trump bears zero blame for the insurrection. Go to my iPad, guys. Come on. It's right here. I need to pull it up. 66% says Trump has acted responsibly. But here's the other, in this same poll, Kelly, a quarter of the people in this make more than $100,000 a year. Mm-hmm. There are 55% of white women voted for Trump, an increase over 2016. So I just need people, I believe we have to properly frame the racism and the bigotry, and we can't let people off the hook, Kelly, which is what mainstream media does. Go.
For sure. Going back to the, I believe it was Imhotep who mentioned that they are voting against their own interests. I would argue that their interest is white supremacy itself. Their interest is upholding whiteness. That is their interest. And it is by any means necessary tactic meaning they don't care if they're poor. They don't care if they have a dime to their name. They don't care that they live in a trailer park. They don't care that they don't have an education, because they know so long as they have whiteness, so long as white supremacy is in play at the scale that they need it to be in play, they will be okay. They will have a semblance of power. And that's frankly all they want. Now, for the people who are, well above the poverty line, making six figures a year or whatever, white supremacy is in their interest too, because they invest in white supremacy. They have gotten an incredible return of investment based off of white supremacy. So it doesn't surprise me that white people across the board don't have a problem with Trump. If anything, I think that they now understand why their forefathers wore hoods. They now understand why their forefathers did the most insidious things in the dark of night, because they could get away with it, because other people were sleeping. But now they're trying to do it in the day. Now they're trying to be bold with it, but the times are changing. Slowly but surely, they are changing. White supremacy will not be here forever. This world is browning. The world is browning. So they are going to fight tooth and nail to keep their power. They're going to lose, but they're going to fight for it.
But again, though, the responsibility here, though, lies in not normalizing their whiteness. And what we have to remember, Rob, and this is what I think a lot of black people keep forgetting, because you got black folks who watch TV and you thinking, well, Van Jones and Don and Abby Phillips, they on CNN, and Joy Reid got a show, and Tiffany Cross and Jonathan Capehart, they got a show. Y'all ain't asking who's in the executive suites. You're not asking how narratives are determined. You're not there. See, here's the deal. Let me just be real clear, Rob. You don't get an award from me for now calling Trump a liar.
Zero.
you don't get a gold star from Roland for now.
Too late.
For now.
Right.
Saying white supremacy. See, you don't get a blue ribbon from Roland on January 15, 2021 for you talking about who they're sitting here, they're targeting white voters. No. That's where your ass should have been in 2015. That's where you should have been in 2016 and 2017 and 2018 and 2019 and 2020. See, so now all of a sudden, if people look at so-and-so, Jake Tapper has courage. Look at so-and-so, this anchor, look what Chris Cuomo is saying now. No, where were y'all in 2015 and 2016?
Yeah, I mean, they let it go, and by doing so, they legitimize they legitimize the craziness, and they made a deal. They made a deal with the devil because Trump. This is what Trump is. He is very good at this. He knows how to entertain. He knows how to get people and draw their attention to them. And so, the news media was willing to trade that off just to get people to pay attention. So they were willing to go with these false stories and talk about it and let it go because it helped their numbers. It helped them make tons of money. And frankly, they probably are sad to see him go, kind of, because they're going to have to figure out what to talk about now when they can't just talk about Trump. But yes, they are absolutely complicit in every single way. And how they define the narratives. I mean, there was this, and Lemon talked about this, there was this obsession with, we have to understand the Trump voter. We have to get to them. What we got to do is make sure we keep people engaged, keep them voting, so we can keep that voter, if that's what they want to do, from actually getting in power, because we know what that's going to do. It's going to destroy the nation. Like, we have to make sure people are more involved, and we do nothing to normalize any of this behavior anymore.
Right, and I think our responsibility, and I want us not to let people off the hook.
Right.
Because see, in this moment of unity, it's wonderful. You lose sight of what's happening in Georgia right now.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. You lose sight of what the Republicans, the white guy who beat the sister for the Supreme Court Chief Justice in North Carolina, has been firing all of the staffers. Democrats went from a 61 majority to a 4-3 majority in the North Supreme Court because they want him to be in power. I saw a story the other day where the Arizona governor, he is leading the Republican effort to control state Supreme Court. See, everybody keep focusing on Washington, D.C., down the street, 6-3. No. Y'all don't understand. If they control the Supreme Courts in Florida, Mississippi, Alabama, Texas, Tennessee, Arkansas, Louisiana, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Virginia. See, more laws are actually determined there than this U.S. Supreme Court.
Right.
See, I'm trying to get our people, because I need people to understand why I keep the conversation on you don't let it go off rails. Mm-hmm. Because, see, if we allow this conversation to start sidetracked, this issue and that issue, no. You got to stay right here. And we got to keep our people right here. And see, while they are sitting here trying to distract, while Langford wants to distract with his apology, no. You were one of 100 votes.
Right.
See, that's the deal. See, I think what we've done is we go, well, Tim's black, Cory Booker's black, Kamala Harris was black, so they're not in the U.S. Senate or knock us down in the U.S. Senate. No, our constituents. Our job in every state where we are is to go after every single one of the senators who represents us and say, we ain't gonna let you peel the whiteness. We'll show up and show out every turn you get where you gonna see us where you go. That's what we have to do.
Yeah, we have to push our issues, and the state legislatures are so important because of the 10th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution and states' rights and things like this. So a lot of people don't understand the power that the states have, and you're dealing with really 50 individual governments. Even though we talk about the United States of America, you're really dealing with 50 individual governments and the power at the state level. So that's something that we really have to focus on. And then when it deals with power over policing, the states have more power over policing than the federal government does. I'm talking about, the police in your state, local, things like this. There's more power at the state level over policing than the federal government.
Right, and that's why we're walking you through this. And one of the reasons why we need you to support Roland Unfiltered is because you're not going to have this discussion on MSNBC. I got them on right now. Okay, I can flip to CNN right now. I can flip to Fox News right now. I can go to all their streaming services. They're only going to be focusing on D.C. We have to be focusing what's happening in the state level. For instance, a white man who stabbed and killed a U.S. Army lieutenant in Maryland at a bus stop in 2017 is going to be in life of prison. On May 20, 2017, around 3 a.m., Sherbansky stabbed Richard Collins III as Collins stood at a bus stop on the campus of the University of Maryland, College Park. Collins was 23. And 3 days away from graduating with a BA with a business degree from Bowie State University. He'd also recently been commissioned through an ROTC program as a second lieutenant in the U.S. Army. Urbanski was the first-degree murder as well as a state hate crime. Thursday, was sentenced to in prison. That, folks, is one of the issues we're talking about because of white domestic terrorism. This is why, again, having our own platforms are important, because we know how to shape the story. If y'all want to join our Bring the Fan Club, simply go to Cash App, $RM Unfiltered, PayPal.me/R Martin Unfiltered, Venmo.com/Altered. You can send us via Zelle, Roland@Martin.com. You can also send us a money order, 16 K Street Northwest, Suite 400, Washington, D.C., and 6. Folks, this is what it's all about. If we don't control the narrative, then somebody else does. And speaking of that, go to a break, we come back. We'll talk to Nate Parker about his new film that dropped today called American Skin, dealing with race, hate, you name it. And this is a timely movie coming out. He's next on Unfiltered. And for me, the reason I see the value, so my parents worked elections. They volunteered for campaigns. They ran phone banks. I remember being 7, 8, 9 years old. It was like you had no choice. Not like you had a vote. It was like, yo, go over there for the next 8 hours, stand there and hand out these pamphlets to anybody who's walking in, and then we'll bring you lunch, and then you got some water for yourself. It's kind of like, okay. Again, that was wasn't like my brother could say, nah, we're all right. We gonna stay at the house. It didn't work that way. And so for me, that was a huge part of my upbringing.
And look at you now. And it's very interesting because for me, service was a huge part of my upbringing. And that's just something that's just, It's a natural thing. I don't think twice about going out and doing community service. I don't think twice about giving up my Saturday mornings, even if I stayed out late on Friday nights. I don't think twice about going to church in the mornings. I think that might be even bigger than the civics piece in schools. I mean, I think that at this point, having that in schools at least gives the children the opportunity to go home and ask their parents, so Mom, Dad, what is this? What do you think we should do about this? This is what I learned in school today. Let's talk about it. At least gives the children something to bring home and start a conversation with. However, if the parents start that for the children, then, then the children can go to school and say, hey, why am I not learning this here? Why don't I have a civics class? You know what I mean? And we'll have more Roland Martins running around here.
General George Washington's soldiers were freezing cold, fighting for independence against tyranny, domination, and control. It was their moment to stand up and fight for freedom. To many, January 6th is such a moment.
The battle for the White House is now a full-fledged struggle for the survival of this constitutional republic.
We, the people, are in control of the United States, and we will take our rights back.
74 million Americans are not going to shut up. This is about taking a stand where you can take a stand.
We need to fight back. We win because of our ideas. We lose elections because they cheat us.
We're going to keep fighting until every illegal vote is thrown out.
They rigged the election in front of all of us, and nobody did anything about it.
Call your congressman and feel free. You can lightly threaten them. If you don't start supporting election integrity, I'm coming after you. Madison Cawthorn's coming after you. Everybody's coming after you.
Hey, we're not timid folk. We're people who understand when there's a challenge in front of us, we rise to the challenge. We fight, finish, keep.
It is time to stand and fight.
Folks, you look at what's happening right now in our climate issue of race and policing, and a lot of people are simply fed. Well, Nate Parker's this new movie is called American Skin. It follows up, of course, from a Nation, one of the most unbelievable movies I have ever seen. This movie getting a lot of attention. Check out the trailer.
You remember me?
How you doing tonight?
Doing well, officer.
Can I see your driver's license, registration, and insurance, please?
Of course. My license is right here, my wallet. It's all right, son. You remember the night in July?
Hands up! Hey! Wait! Put the phone down! Put that phone down! Sorry, it's a phone! It's a cell phone. It's just a cell phone.
You knew he was unarmed.
Get in the car and put your hands in the air! Officer, please, he's just a kid!
You pointed your gun at him.
Okay, get out of the car, son. Easy.
You pulled the trigger.
Put that phone away! Put the phone away!
The grand jury determined that no probable cause exists to file charges against Officer Randall.
This is my son. This is my little boy. You took that from me. The world took that from me. Today we make that right. Hear me when I say this, because I'm only going to say it once. Don't stop filming.
You should just give up now. Why are we the only people in this country that are expected to do things without violence? I didn't mean to kill your son. What you did. I did what I was trying to do.
I just want justice. That's all I want. This is your jury. The deciders of your fate. Today, you will be tried for the murder of my son. You scared? Are you afraid?
Nate Parker, welcome back to Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Good to see you, brother. It is always good to be here with you.
Man, you sent me this a year ago to check out. It's now, it's out. It dropped today. It is getting lots of attention. And what was the motive for you to say, I got the story this way?
Well, it's interesting for me, my way in. I got custody of my nephew, who was 13 at the time, and brought from the neighborhood that I grew up in Portsmouth, Virginia, and brought him here to California, put him in a very school, and he would ride his bike to school, and then Brown got killed, murdered, and I'm watching the news with my nephew, this beautiful, dark-skinned, 6 foot, 13-and-a-half-year-old, and he turns to me and says, "Oh, Nate, what do I do if when I'm riding my bike, I get pulled over by the police?" And, the immediate reaction was like, well, it's me. You call me, I'll be there wherever you are. And then I said, well, don't pick up your phone. Don't grab for your phone. Just slow down, put feet down very slowly, put your hands up when you can, make eye contact so we can see your face, see you're not a threat, so he can see your humanity. I'm talking to him about how to conduct himself, and he's looking at me with his eyes bulging. And I realized very quickly that I'm traumatizing him, that me and all of my attempts to push us forward and be involved with activism, I don't have an appropriate or sufficient answer for my nephew, who's now at a great school, to protect his life. It was as if I took him out of the frying pan into the fire. And I thought to myself, I said, I got to get an answer for him, and so went to Ferguson, went to, when Aaron Garner got killed, went to New York looking for an answer for my nephew, and realized the dysfunction when it came to addressing these violence in our country, and decided to attack it with my art. And that is when I started the kernel of that idea of how do I force this conversation between these two groups of people. Of course, those who are being murdered and those who are murderers in the system that perpetuates that behavior. And out of that need for answer for him, I wrote this script and then shot the film.
The thing that jumps out, that line that you just said in the trailer, all I want is justice. And that's the one thing we constantly hear in this scene where the DA announces no charges. And it's case after case. It is very rare where, first of all, it's rare for an officer to get charged. Even rare for them to be found guilty.
Mm-hmm. And becoming more and more rare every day. When people talk about progress, the reality is when you look back, you look at Rodney King and how he was beaten into within an inch of his life. Those officers were charged. There was a trial. That how they handled that trial and all the things that they did to ensure those officers wouldn't face any type of prison time. But then you fast forward, brothers and sisters are dying, and they're literally saying, "Oh, so what?" It's like it's the biggest middle finger to the humanity of Black people's country, because there's no reasoning, dialogue. They show a picture of a cop throwing a barbecue for some Black kids, and they show a picture of a cop hugging a Black kid on Instagram, and all of a sudden we forget. But I guarantee that Michael Brown's father right now, wherever he is, mourning his son. Tamir Rice's mother right now, wherever she is, she's mourning her son, and the list goes on and on and on. The question is, where's the backstop? What point do we do something differently?
In this movie, he's taking out justice, vigilante. And you'll have people who will say, man, I wish I could do that. Mm-hmm. And you clearly are not trying to say, do this. But through the art, you're really speaking to just the anger and frustration of nothing being done to actually fix the problem.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. How many mothers and fathers seen these videos of these Black children being decimated in the streets, said to themselves, I hope that doesn't happen to me. And really not really having a response if it did. This film isn't instructing anyone to do anything. And it's not, and it offers, as you saw, more questions than answers, really questions of what are we willing to do to change the narrative. I don't want to be in that situation with my nephew. And this film, in some ways, is just a cautionary tale. It's saying, let's force this conversation now and have it within the context of art, so we don't have to see this happen. With or without this film, if this continues on, we will see much worse, because we love our children desperately. I know I'm willing to die for mine. So this film was for me to create a full stop. We talk about the conversation between law enforcement and the citizens that they terrorize, but we never have the real conversation. We talk about the conversation. And I think that the systemic the way that the infrastructure around law enforcement, how policing is not only enacted, but how the curtain between these peace officers and us, it is so strong that you couldn't just walk up to a cop and say, hey, can we have a conversation about the things that are happening in America? So this character, Lincoln Jefferson, he has no choice but to force that conversation. And we are able to have a private moment in public meeting for the audience to see.
Questions from my panel. I'll first start with Michael Motep.
Sure.
Michael?
Okay. Hey, how you doing, Nate? It's good to have you
Peace,
on.
brother. Great to be on.
Thank you. Question for you. Did you see similarities between the Nat Turner movie that you did, Birth of a Nation, and the portrayal of Nat Turner and Nat Turner's fight for justice? Did you see similarities between that and the character that you portray in this movie? And by the way, I did get your book, The Birth of a Nation, Nat Turner and the Making of Movement. That's the official tie into the movie as well. It's an excellent book also.
Thank you. Well, to be honest, I think that there are similarities not only between The Birth of a Nation in this film, but also Malcolm X and Harriet and the film that was done Tucson. I think any narrative that addresses the question of how will we move forward in a way that protects our bodies, what we should and should not tolerate. These are themes that I believe we need to, as artists, bring to the forefront of consciousness more often than not. If not, we'll find ourselves in these situations all the same. So for me, it's never a question of what can I do to make a film that's like another. For me, it's like, okay, how can I contribute to the conversation? The reality is, bro, like Roland, are doing the work a day in the trenches. I'm just an artist. This is not, the answer. I'm no savior. This film is no savior. I'm just trying to contribute to the conversations that are happening every day on the ground. The conversations being driven by Black Lives Matter, being driven by Color of Change, and the extraordinary organizations doing the work. I just think that we should do, as Nina Simone says, artists, we have to reflect the times. It offers an intersection without us actually having to deal with this actual situation in real life.
Mm-hmm. Question from Kelly.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, Nate. It's a pleasure to meet you virtually. Hello?
Yeah, go ahead. He got you.
Okay. No, I'm sorry. I'm very excited for this movie, first and foremost. You always hear when you're talking about creative processes about art imitating life. In this case, this is more or less art depicting life, and coming from your movie Birth of a Nation, your creative process, I can imagine, was a little bit different because there was a historical reference to it. There was a historical distance from the current day to, the day of Birth of a Nation. But this movie is talking about now. This is literally art depicting life. So my question for you is, as a Black man, what is and an artist specifically, as a Black man artist, what is your creative process to go from Black man to Black man?
I think my process, it's rooted in my experience, in the same way that I wake up and wonder what I'm going to intersect in life that may challenge me or put me in a position where I either have to cower or have to stand and fight, and what that means for my family. The reality is that so many of us, Black men, Black women, wake up and have that thought subconsciously every single day. So I always say my art is a reflection of my activism. When I look at my children and I look at the legacy that we process of leaving them, I often feel embarrassed and hopeless. So I don't think there's a magic book, but I do believe this: the day that I lay down, minutes from my last moment when I'm about to leave this world, and hopefully I'll be surrounded by people that, generations of people that I love, that love me. I just want to feel like I've done my part. When you look at the work of, Dr. King, as we are approaching his day, he did everything he did for the world before he was my age. He did it all and died before he was my age. So when you talk about going from black man to black man as an artist, really, I'm going generation to generation, or legacy moment to legacy moment. I just want to look back and have something I can look at my kids and say, I did this for you. Nat Turner's story exists for you. The story addressing police brutality and the controlling bodies and the destruction of our bodies, intimidation of our bodies is addressed in this film. And whatever I do moving forward, I just want to feel like I've contributed to the lexicon of our liberation. And I think that goes for many black men I know. I won't speak for Brother Roland, but being someone that's been on the show many times, knowing how desperately he wants freedom, knowing how much he loves us, I would go so far to say that is his agenda as well.
Absolutely. Rod Richardson.
Nate, first of all, thank you for your work. Thank you for expressing your work in a way that limiting and changing the narrative. And as we talk about changing the narrative, I'd like to ask my question along those lines. Seems like and you said this earlier, you're aimed at two different audiences, essentially. Black people are being victimized by this process, and those who are perpetrating the crime against us and violating our bodies. What narratives do you want to change with both audiences? If you had to just sum it for each one of those audiences, what is the narrative you want to get through to change one of those audiences with this piece?
Well, for black people, it's relentless action. I think we must continue, as I think we're doing it, to recognize until all of us are free, none of us are free. And I think that if we can adopt that and arms in that and solidarity in that and turn away from any type of divisive or pacifying tactics, we will continue to march forward toward freedom. You know, we don't know what it looks like because we've never been in this country. And for those who are decimated bodies, you know, I had the pleasure, maybe for pleasure with respect to the information either, but I interviewed dozens of police officers, black and white and Hispanic, and nearly every one of them asked to be, to comment on the condition of anonymity. And I found that interesting because if we believe that the money that we're paying, our tax dollars are going to the salaries of these peace officers, and also going to getting them let off with respect to its place in the judicial system. It's a question of, shouldn't you stand by what you do on a daily basis with respect to your job? And it's not the case. I talked to officers that said anyone that tells you that they don't racially profile, or they're just not telling you the truth. A lot of the dialogue that you hear in the film is dialogue taken directly from my interviews and my research from law officers that say, look, this is how it is. And my challenge to law officers, to us, and anyone that watches this film is to ask ourselves, are we satisfied with firing one officer that kills one person and that being the end all to that pain, that being the healing process? Or are we willing to commit to destroying or reconstructing the very system that creates that widget, right? Because I'm a big believer in programming. I believe that these officers are doing what they're programmed to do, a lot of them. And unless we attack it from on a systemic level, we can expect this film to be relevant 10 years from now. People talk about how relevant the film is. It's like, yeah, but I made this film in the beginning of 2019, before George, before the insurrection. Yep. 10 years. So if 10 years ago this film would have come out, would it have been relevant? Absolutely. And if we're not careful, 10 years from now, if I held it and put it out, it would have been just as timely. We would have still been having the same conversation.
Nate, people are asking, where can they see the film? Is it streaming or is it in movie theaters? Where can they see it?
Oh, well, we're in movie theaters, 31 cities, limited, obviously, with COVID. We want to be safe. So in states that aren't open, we're not there. We're doing drive-ins. You can go to my Instagram or into americskinfilm.com, and it'll tell you the theaters it's playing. Also streaming anywhere where you can rent and buy movies. So iTunes, Amazon, it's everywhere. So just go into your browser and type Watch American Skin, or go to your Apple TV or Google Play. It's tonight and at midnight. Just this morning, it became live, so you can watch anywhere. And I encourage you two things. One, watch it in the dark and as big a screen as you can with people that you care about. Because when you're done and you turn on those lights, you're going to have a conversation. And I would encourage anyone that listens, that watches the film, to engage in that conversation and try to come out of it with actions, whether they're policy driven, whether they're heart and soul driven, whatever side that you're on. I hope that that's something that starts a conversation that matches your heart and mind.
Well, I've got an 82-inch, so I'm going to watch it on that one. So that we watch it big.
That's the movie right there.
It's and it is it's good to see you back in the trenches. The great work. My last question for you: how does Spike Lee get involved in this?
It's a great question. Splee is my brother, my mentor, my friend. At times, my patriarch. I call advice. And when I told him I was making this film, he said, "Well, listen, it's done. Make sure I get." So I finished it from New York. He was the first person to see it, him and my other friend, Steven Soderbergh. And we sat in this theater. I rented the theater out, smaller thing. And we watched it. And it just so happened to be the day where the officers did not go charge the guy for the Eric Garner murder. And with the emotion in the room when we watched it, I just remember him standing up and pacing. And you know, Spike, if you know how he is when he gets passionate, he just was lamenting about where we are and how this is our reality, and how he made, do the right thing and had Radio Raheem, a brother choked to death, was based on someone he knew in New York. And here 30 years later, where Eric Garner's killers get off on that day that he watches a film that is about more police brutality. And he said, brother, anything I can do to support you and stand you and moving this film forward and getting it to the masses, I'm with you. And I honor him for that. He stood next to me, and we've taken this film to Italy. Did very well in Italy, did very well in Spain. And these are people that don't speak the language. So I just hope that people continue to see it and have the dialogue. The hard dialogue creates the type of healing that we need.
Folks, the movie's called American Skin, starring Nate Parker and Amari Hardwick. Hey, we appreciate it, brother. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, brother. Anytime.
Yes, sir. Thanks a bunch. All right. Thank you so very much, Rob, Michael, as well as me. That is it, y'all. I got to go because 8:30, I want y'all to join me. I'm going to be watching One Night in Miami. That is the new movie by Regina King that is going to be on tonight on Amazon Prime Video. I'm going to live streaming it as well. Looking forward to after that. She's going to be on Twitter taking questions. It talks about the night that Muhammad Ali won. Is based upon, it's fictitious, but it actually is real. And where Muhammad Ali, Brown, Sam, and why am I leaving somebody give a name? Muhammad Ali, Jim Brown, Sam, and was one more. There were four of them who were Malcolm X were in that night. That's going to be amazing thing. And so I'm looking forward to that. So Amazon Video, we're going to be watching all together at 8:30. So I'll be streaming it as well. And so looking forward to it. Folks, we thank all of y'all who support what we do, joining our Bring Funk fan club. All the dollars, y'all can go ahead and roll it. All the dollars that you'll support this show, you can support us via Cash App, $RM Unfiltered. Of course, PayPal.me/R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo.com is /RM Unfiltered. Don't show it. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com. And so what you're seeing right now, the list of all the people who join our Bring the Funk fan club. We appreciate all of you for joining us, folks. I will see you guys on Monday right here on Roland Martin Unfiltered. Y'all have a fantastic weekend.